We're back for your ears only. I'm Melissa Axelberth.
I'm David Alpern with this quote from the news. "Let the chap get on with his job." That was Bill Aldridge, commander of British forces in the Falkland Islands, on complaints that posting rescue copter pilot Prince William was provocative approaching the 30th anniversary of the Falkland War. Now this.
8 German fighters or 80 still doesn't change what I think of you and your boys.
We don't care. We have a right to fight for our country, the same as every other American.
From the last plane, to the last bullet, to the last minute, to the last man, we fight! We fight! We fight! We fight! We fight! We fight!
A fitting start to Black History Month this year. The new George Lucas film Red Tails spotlights the World War II exasperation and exploits of African-American Tuskegee Airmen, specifically the pioneer pursuit and fighter pilots who finally won the crucial mission of protecting heavy bombers over Nazi-held territory in Europe and finally Berlin itself.
The film's digital magic makes old-fashioned dogfights seem something out of Lucas's Star Wars and reminds us how recently even the modest levels of racial integration we have now achieved seemed like a fantasy. Quote, "I was treated better as a prisoner than I was back home," recalls retired Red Tail Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson in a 2005 memoir titled Red Tail Captured, Red Tail Free from Fordham University Press. His name is among the movie's final credits, and to talk about Red Tails, in fact and film, for your ears only, nonagenarian Alex Jefferson is on the line now. Welcome to our program, sir.
It's a pleasure. It's an honor to be here.
Remind us of the official mindset about African Americans that kept blacks from Army Air Corps cockpits before the famous Tuskegee Airman program.
Well, there was a 1925 edict of the War College evaluation of the Negro saying he was physically unqualified, mentally unqualified. In other words, he was a dum-dum. And, of course, full officers that met us in World War II.
Only college graduates could enter the Tuskegee program, but failure rate was still pretty high.
Well, we did some research. I was on the research team at Maxwell Field. We found out that our failure rate was comparable to the whites training. 100 started out of my class, 25 graduated. Our failure rate was comparable to the whites at that time.
Why the red tails on your beautiful P-51 Mustang fighter planes?
Well, that was done because of 15th Air Force. The 15th Air Force denoted the color of our planes red. There were 3 other groups, 3 white groups. One group, the 52nd Fighter Group, was yellowtails. The 325th was checkerboard, black and yellow squares. The 31st, the other group, was red and white stripe.
So that was that each unit could be discerned from the ground whose planes they were.
That's right, air identification.
The movie makes much of the restraint imposed on the Red Tails to stay with the heavy bombers, protect them from Nazi interceptors rather than chasing their attackers or other German targets. Do you recall feeling like something like a sacrificial lamb?
I remember with the parachute after briefing, going out of the door, and Colonel Davis standing at the door looking you dead in the eyes saying, "Stay with the bombers." As long as we stayed with the bombers, the Germans never came in. I never shot my guns at a German fighter. But the striping, that's a different story.
The Red Tails never lost the bomber they were escorting.
No. That is a myth. I was on a research team, and we searched the missing crew reports of the bombers, the bomber groups in the 15th Air Force. We calculated we lost approximately 25 to 30 bombers due to German fighters during the entire war, which is a darn good record.
And you say it helped you win respect from white American POWs when you joined them after being shot down. I mean, the people you had helped really appreciated you.
I was in Stalag Luft 3, 80 miles east of Berlin on the Polish border. And a couple of days after I got there, a bomber crew came in from the 15th Air Force, saw me, ran over and said, "Good, if you Red Tails had been with us, we would have been shot down." And, of course, the reputation spread throughout the whole camp.
How were your German captors to African-American prisoners? You met one with a surprising knowledge of the places you knew back home.
Well, there was a German officer who had graduated from the University of Michigan in 1936. He went back to Germany, and they put him in charge of the anti-aircraft crew that shot me down. We have German Americans here all the time. Let's face it, it's the way this country's run.
I didn't think there were as many old P-51 and P-40 fighter planes as we see in the movie, or were there just a few and a lot of digital copies?
That's digital. That's George Lucas. That's today, let's face it. He did a darn good job. The combat scenes were fantastic. But I've got a gripe with the rest of it. I've got a real righteous gripe with the plot and the story behind it. We'll get to that.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, number one, Colonel Davis was shown standing in the window watching the plane school take off. He was never shown flying a plane. Colonel Davis flew more than 65, he led more than 65 missions. Mm-hmm. It's out of this world that Colonel Davis would allow a drunkard, a no-good, lousy, stinking drunkard, to lead the group into combat. This is a lie. I hated to see Cuba Gooding stand around with a pipe in his mouth. He represented Spanky Roberts, the major. Spanky flew more than 100 missions. He was in charge of the intelligence. I hated, he never took his hat off, even in the presence of the generals who were there. It gives the public the wrong idea and attitude of allowing a captain, an alcoholic captain, to break the rules and put a man back on flying status.
In the real world, to what degree do you see the skill and bravery of the real Red Tails helping to change minds about African Americans in and out of military service?
Same old story. Black men have been heroes ever since Civil War. We've fought for every war to protect this country. And heroes, heck, we just like any other man, any others. We sacrificed, we fought, and we have to tell the right story. This movie has done great. It's opened a lot of doors. I hope he makes his $15 million back. But in some instances, it leaves the wrong idea and attitude about the accomplishments of Tuskegee Airmen.
Alexander Jefferson is a former school science teacher, a retired Air Force Reserve lieutenant colonel, and a veteran of the all-black Tuskegee-trained fighter pursuit squadron spotlighted in the new George Lucas film Red Tails. His 2005 memoir is Red Tail Captured, Red Tail Free, from Fordham University Press.
And now a song from the first scene of the film, set in 1944, though in fact it wasn't recorded until a year later.
Kiss me once, then kiss me twice, then kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time.
Next, I'll Take Romance, old songs in a new CD from a Music World veteran, for your ears only.